week on the afternoon programme, we have been featuring a local charity called From Me to You. They organise letters to be sent to people with cancer, and these letters, as we've heard this week, are full of joy and positivity. They're handed out by care centres like the Sussex Cancer Centre in Brighton, and writers of these letters, although they don't know the recipient of the letter, they are encouraged to fill the letters with information about their own lives, from the mundane to the spectacular. All this week, we've been meeting some of the amazing writers who write regularly for the charity. And in a moment, we're going to be speaking to Veronica, who has actually received some of these letters. But first, let's hear what these letters are like. People write letters from all over the world to recipients here in the UK. Here's two letters which have been voiced up by actors.
Dear fellow human, for a world that gives us so much good stuff, it sure does dish out some difficult stuff. I hope you're being well looked after. I thought I'd share a list of the little things that have made me smile this week, in case maybe they'd make you smile too. 1. They've resurfaced a road that I drive on to work, so I no longer have to play dodge the pothole. I like to pretend I'm the first driver on it. 2. Frozen lemon zest exists in Tesco.
3. I almost hit a deer. Key word is almost, so hurrah to the deer for surviving the dash. 4. Galaxy golden eggs. They've brought pleasure both before and after Easter, and probably 2 stone on my hips. 5. No queue at the post office. 6. I met a man who was very passionate about rabbits. I need to find the thing that makes me feel that way. What's your thing? There are so many people rooting for you, including this stranger. Sending good vibes from my coordinates to yours. Helen.
Hello. I don't know who you are, what you're interested in, or how you're feeling today. But I do know how it feels when someone holds out their hand to you in the dark. This letter is me reaching out my hand to yours. I hope you're comfortable and warm. Very underrated, I find. And I hope this letter gives you something to brighten your day. Be strong and continue to be amazing. You matter to everyone who knows you. My very best wishes from me to you.
Gosh, that last one I found really moving. It really touched me. The one before just really made me smile. And I suppose that is the beauty of these letters. You know, they will affect everybody differently depending on what the stranger decides to write to the recipient. We have one of those recipients here in the studio. Please meet Veronica, Veronica Farley. How many of these letters have you received?
I actually only received the one when I was in the Brighton Care Centre. And it was on my pillow, an anonymous envelope, which somebody said, I think that's meant for you. And then they all went out and left me in total isolation with the envelope. So you're reluctant to open it because you feel you're prying into someone else's world. But actually when you do, it's overwhelming. It almost brings you to tears.
I bet. Well, that last one almost brought me to tears. And the first one we heard just made me smile. I now want to meet the man who's passionate about rabbits. I think we all want to meet that gentleman, don't we? What was your letter? Was it uplifting? Was it humorous? Did it make you cry? What response did you have?
My first response was, you feel so helpless and isolated, and then somebody, it's so powerful, this gift of giving, is taking the trouble, having recovered from cancer, to write to you. And she lived in Australia, and she was telling me about the wallabies in her garden reaching up and eating the eucalyptus leaves, and I was thinking, goodness me, this is huge. I had to read it twice before I could read it properly, actually, because it was such a kind thing to do.
Gosh, we met a lady earlier this week, actually, from Australia, who wrote these letters. I wonder, maybe there's more than one lady in Australia writing letters, but it would be kind of odd if it was the lady who was writing to you. Who knows? Would you ever want to meet the person who wrote to you?
I don't mind, really. I was so full of this wonderful idea of the charity that what I wanted to do was to join the letter writing brigade.
Oh, okay.
So that's been the avenue that I've gone down. And I hadn't met Brian or Alison before. And then Brian was doing a workshop which I couldn't go to. So you're a bit scared of the first letter because you don't know what to write. You know,
Yeah.
What do you say? You know, that lady said, "Dear fellow human being." I say just hello or hi. And you can't say how are you because you know that they're, you know, having their own private battle. But it's usually about my life around me or nature or something really beautiful, hoping they can relax into it. But I also want to reassure them that they're not forgotten, because I felt not forgotten when I was in my little room in Brighton, totally isolated for 3 days.
Oh, bless you. How's your health now?
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. They're still checking. They're very good because you feel reassured by that. The fact, you know, you've had to have a blood test or something, you know that someone's looking at it. We're very lucky, really, aren't we?
Yeah. What was your diagnosis?
Well, they thought I had a little nodule up near my chin, and in actual fact, they took my thyroid out and it said a nodule, and then 6 weeks later they found there was another one in a separate place. They give you a dose of radioactive iodine, and then your cells that are trying to regenerate cancerous are zapped by the radioactive iodine. So it's like a safety net, but it just applies to thyroid cancer. It doesn't apply to the hundreds of other sorts of cancer.
Of course.
So,
And once you've had that iodine, then do you have to be in isolation?
yes, completely in a lead-lined room.
Oh, my gosh.
That's why the letter was so precious, because you tend to pretend to be brave. I was, you know, because everyone around you, your family and friends, want you to be fine, so you pretend you're cool. But when they're gone and it's just you think, oh gosh, what am I going to do? And then there's this letter from a lady who has had cancer, and she's recovered, and she's writing to me from the other side of the world, and I don't even know her.
Yeah, it is a gift, as you say.
It's such a gift. It's powerful, really.
I've been inspired. In fact, actually during the show, I've been writing a couple of letters myself, and I think a lot of people will be inspired. Well, I hope people will be inspired this week to join the charity, to join the letter writing brigade, as you put it. How many letters do you think you've written so far?
Well, I'm early on the road, so I've only done about half a dozen, but it's sort of like you can write as much or as little as you want and as often as you like, so I'm aiming at one sort of every other week.
Yeah.
And because mine are a little bit based on nature, it has to be things around me, so the scene's changing, so that's quite nice.
Fantastic. If you want to find out more about the charity, you can take a look at their website, www.frommetouletters.co.uk. And obviously, having received one of these letters, what would you say to people? Why would you urge them to get involved?
Because it's such a lifeline to somebody who's probably at the most scary moment of their whole life. Just the fact to know that you care enough to write, and it's because you don't know them that it becomes even more valuable. You do feel really helpless, and I felt very isolated as well. So thank you very much indeed to Brian and to Alison for setting up such a wonderful scheme.
Well, listen, we wish you all the best, Veronica. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate it. As I said, if you want to find out more about the charity, you can www.frommetouletters.co.uk.